no use in looking back. Gotta laugh or gotta live, 'cause I'm so over the past, and I'm living it fast. Underneath the strobe lights, ready for a crazy night. I can hear your heartbeat banging loud like a drum. Let me be your only one. Do you feel what I feel? I'm addicted to that sound. Turn it loud, just make it play. When the love is all around, dream away with the music. Flying higher than the stars, we'll be dancing till the dawn. The night is young, so are we. So close your eyes and set it free. Underneath the strobe lights, ready for a crazy night. I can hear your heartbeat banging loud like a drum. Let me be your only one. Do you feel what I feel? I'm addicted to that sound. Turn it loud, just make it play. When the love is all around, dream away with the music. I'm
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday, everybody. We made it to the end of the week. How is everybody today? Hope you're all well. Hope you are all dancing around. Don't forget, today is live call-in day. So the link to enter the chat is pinned to the chat, but I will be reposting it as the chat goes on. And just remember, all you have to do is click on that link and you'll be able to come into the back end to be able to join the chat if you want to say anything and you're open to say anything royal or UK politics related. How's everyone liking the new song? I thought I'd switch it up with a bit of video of Meghan as well. Hello, Vivian. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Poetry is Polite. Tamiko, hi. Welcome to all our new members that joined recently. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already. Hi, Maggie. Loving the new song. Hi, Lucy. Hi, Cinderella. Hi, Mrs. S. Angela, hey, hey. Hi, Brenda. Susie Q. Educate you, hi. Hi, Mad World. Resistas? Cosistas. That looks like a new name. Are you one of the silent listeners? Hi, Jane Commonwealther. Marina, hey, hey. Hey, Sonia. Catalina Hamlet. Well, like I haven't seen that name too many times. Welcome. Annie, hey. Hey, Brenda. Yeah. Cinderella, highlight side of the moon. Anita, hi. Loving that you're loving the new song, Susie Cute. Lucy, you like the video but not the song. Did the song not make you jiggle? I think you're lying, Lucy. I absolutely bet that you were twerking the most out of everyone. Hey, Maggie. Hey, girl from down under. Oh, thank you so much, Claire Cash, for the super sticker. Much appreciated, darling. Hope you have a great weekend. Cinderella, how's your lettuce? I actually haven't checked on her or him. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the lettuce's pronouns are, but I haven't checked on it since yesterday. It's got to be rotten by now, right? I actually think that they should dry it out and put it in a museum just so it can last forever. Probably outlive every single prime minister in the UK for the next 100 years. Oh, you're not new, just haven't caught a live in a while. Okay. Alrighty then, let's get started. Welcome to the chat, everyone. Well, finishing with a little bit of madness this week, but hey, isn't that just how it is on these royal streets and in the UK? So we got some extra pictures from Harry's appearance at the Masters Summit. Still haven't got any video. But hopefully we will get some video. But he is looking fantastic, glowing, right? And happy. Cinderella, yes, crisp lettuce. Oh, like that crispy kale chips you get. Can you get lettuce chips? Oh gosh, can't believe that the UK is crumbling and we're talking about lettuce. Anyway, so yeah, that's Harry. This was happening over at the BBC, the Bibs. People letting it be known that they have had absolutely enough, and yeah, I think the sign really says it all, right? What an effing ish show. um, Shout out to whose ever grandpa that is. Your grandpa is a legend. He will go down in history for that sign. Sorry, let me just hydrate. I have to wonder, did he? Okay, this is outside Parliament, right? I think. Is that Parliament or the Abbey? Like, does he know where the news crews are standing? And does he just like walk around with a sign or a blank piece of cardboard with black marker pen? Like, how did he know that the news station was going to be right there for him to hold up that sign? But already the Boris supporters are coming out. You got Jacob Rees-Mogg, this guy over here. There's actually some interesting details about this guy's father, which I'll talk about actually in the next podcast. I just didn't have any time. But his whole family are a bunch of money-loving grifters. His dad actually wrote a book called I think it was called like There Will Be Blood on the Streets or something, where they basically like predicted an economic crash and how like the hedge funds would be able to profit from it. And this was like back maybe in the 70s or 80s. So even his father was one of those. Apparently, I don't know if this is true, but word on the street is that Nigel Farage could be bankrupt, and Farage was a huge pusher of Brexit. He was um called out for his hypocrisy because he was supportive of Brexit, but he was still taking, because he was on the European Council, he was still taking money as a representative to the tune of I think over about 100,000 a year. So I guess um being a fake hypocrite is just not paying the way it used to. But I think that around the Brexit time and the Trump time was probably his time to make money. and do his greatest grift. And now that that is kind of gone, he's no longer the star of the train wreck that was the whole kind of Brexit era when the vote was going in. So yeah, it kind of makes sense that I guess maybe the money isn't pouring in and he could well be bankrupt. But I will follow that story. Not 100% confirmed. Let's go to your comments. Marina, I was watching BBC today with this very reporter. How did I miss the legendary moment? Um, hmm, maybe they sometimes have these lives on a slight delay so they can edit some bits out. Poetry is polite. I need Harry to stay in the US and never return to the UK. This is their Boris Bojo. Yes, there's quite a number of people that are supporting him to come back. Alma and both Harry and UK seem to look better with time, as long as they're away from the UK and on royals. Yes, indeed. Yes, Ginger. He's a grifter with bad teeth. All that grifting and can't even brush his teeth. Marina, isn't Boris the reason for these problems? Listen, these people who believe everything the media and the tabloids say, if they were told that the fountain of youth was their toilet and the toilet water, they would dunk their head straight in there and drink that water. So, um, it's no surprise to me that not just some politicians, but even ordinary people are talking about, oh, let's bring Boris back. They just go along with whatever it is they're being told. Cinderella, are there no true leaders in parliament? That's a good question. I think there are. They just get uh filtered out the closer you get to the top. Ginger Lily, he used to be on Fox News over here, but I don't see him anymore. Yeah, that was just really during the Trump era. They wanted a British face to be pro-Trump, and it was like Nigel Farage, it was Piss Moron. Oh, there was another guy, Owen something, can't remember his second name. Yeah, Cinderella, short memories. Poetry. I saw someone on Twitter saying that letting Boris come back is like getting back with an ex that gave you gonorrhea. And there's a hell of a lot of people that would get back with an ex that gave them gonorrhea. So is it any surprise that some people want Boris back? Um, all right. On to the next thing. Right, I learned something about history today. So King Charles the First. King Charles the First was executed back when we used to behead people in this country, and he also dissolved Parliament multiple times. And it was in his first 4 years of ruling that he dissolved Parliament 3 times, um, once for 11 years. 11 years. He would only reassemble Parliament to raise funds when he ran out of money because of expensive foreign wars. I'm laughing because the first thing that popped into my head was a picture of the current King Charles running around with bags of money. He lost popular support over public welfare issues such as the imposition of drainage schemes in the fens. And so, because of this, people are now asking, can the current Prince Charles dissolve Parliament? Now, obviously, since that time, there's all kinds of different laws that have come in, but the the narrative that you're always told about the monarchy is that when there are times of crisis, they are meant to bring in a sense of stability and continuity. Well, that's just not happening now. And I was looking up whether or not Charles can actually dissolve Parliament. So I found this, and this is pretty much going along the lines of what most articles were saying. Although it's interesting that nobody could really give an exact straight answer about this, but I think this is the most like straight one I got. What powers does the king have? Much of the UK monarch's role is symbolic. For instance, the king can appoint the prime minister, but only when they have been elected by the public or in an internal leadership contest, as was the case with Truss. The king meets the prime minister weekly to discuss governmental matters. Whilst these meetings are entirely private, the monarch is supposed to remain politically neutral, though can offer advice where necessary. Well, we know that there are many examples where the monarch did not remain politically neutral, and generally speaking, it would seem like they are a lot more aligned with the Tories. It is the monarch's job to officially dissolve parliament for an election, but this is a ceremonial role and would only happen on the request of the prime minister. Oh, FYI, the reason let me just add an antidote why I said they're a lot more aligned with the Tories is because they regularly have people who have worked in the Tory party also work for the firm. For example, Simon Case. So I didn't want to just say that and not explain why I said that. Um, okay, so it goes on to say Liz Truss ruled out calling for an early general election when she was in office. It is not certain whether her replacement would call for an election, but it is unlikely given that the polls suggest holding a general election now would be disastrous for the Conservative Party, of course. The Dissolution and Calling of Parliament Act 2022 allows the current Prime Minister to request that the monarch dissolves Parliament. So the Prime Minister has to request that the monarch dissolves Parliament. The monarch cannot do that under that act. This would then allow the Prime Minister to call an election. The monarch would refuse a request, could refuse a request to dissolve Parliament, but this is unlikely. Therefore, King Charles does not have the power to call for an election himself. He can only assent to requests from the Prime Minister to dissolve Parliament in order for them to call one. Okay, with that said, then, can we finally admit then that the monarchy is completely and utterly pointless? Because if you talk to a royalist, you talk to a monarchist, they will absolutely swear to you that if we don't have a monarchy, we'll turn into North Korea. But anybody in the United Kingdom right now, please look out in the streets and tell me what you see. We have chaos, but we have a monarchy. So what is the point of this £100 million a year institution if in times of crisis they actually don't have any power? And why do we then keep repeating this false narrative that they do? What is the point of them then? That's the question that I need answered clearly. Because all this time we're told that it is literally their role. All this time we've been told that the Queen is a constant and she's there for stability and continuity. Well, it's been what? Almost a decade of austerity that has led to this. Don't understand it. Don't forget, if you want to enter the live chat, please do, because I'll go down the line. So if you want to speak first, enter at the back, please. Sandy Pauno. Our girl Megs is rubbing Harry up with aloe vera, coconut oils, avocado oils. That tried and true roasted chicken with them yoga positions as a side dish. Oh my god. Miss P talks. No lies detected there, Sandy. Miss P talks. By the way, all this mess that happened is not completely all Liz Truss' fault. And as a woman, I would not be laughing, as it's not funny. She's a woman just like us, and she has feelings. Well, there's what's called the glass, I think it's called the glass cliff, where sometimes women get put in positions because organizations know there is disaster and it's almost like they're set up to fail. And I do get your point, Miss P Talks, but at the same time, we also have to understand that there are some women who are happy to be agents of chaos if it means that they can get ahead. And I personally, I see them in the same vein as problematic men. And that's not to say that I don't understand how it can be difficult um when you are, a woman in these positions, but let's not act like women can't reinforce patriarchy or systems of oppression. Also, they do. um let's see what else is saying. Miss P talks, they are saying that Bojo was given the mandate and that's why they want him back. Oh Christ. Oh dear, oh dear. um Cheryl W, the British monarch does not have any power, they are simply symbolic. Well, royalists will absolutely swear to you if we didn't have a monarchy, it would be even worse. I don't know how much worse they want it to get. We've got 2,000 food banks. Do they want 3,000? It says Charlie can't even stabilize his own family. How's it going to stabilize Britain? Exactly. Uh, oh gosh. Yeah, exactly. Rachel's on. William staff is all Tories, literally ex-Tory party members. So that shows you that they're not impartial at all. Ginger Lily, and I think the Queen stayed this long on the throne because she was disappointed in Charles with the Camilla debacle, and that he's a weak leader who will F things up. Yeah, well, that's becoming more and more obvious now. I mean, here we were shouting elder abuse, and Betty probably knew the moment I go, it's game over. Sandy, sewage bursting from the pipes. Really? Where? NHS collapsing. That is actually true. Britain has been in free fall for a long time, but the exception with the Sussexes was a distraction. Yes. Yes, Trinette. They need the monarchy to uphold the class system, and also all of the um what I like to call the money tunnels of the crown. So things like the tax havens. That's what they need the monarchy for, really, not to the benefit of most working class British people. Megalite EXO, the political class, regardless of affiliation, is no longer working for the benefit of the common folk. Their whole focus is to profit and keep themselves in power. Yes. And I believe the actual term for that is a kleptocracy. And that's pretty much what I believe the UK is at this point. All right, on to the next thing. Oh, what did I? Oh yeah, I saw this pop up, and I had to laugh because, as you all know, I'm actually looking to move abroad and eventually buy a property in Spain. And there was this. This is a fine example of both propaganda and UK journalists. Yes. So there's this article saying the visa is putting off British expats from seeking a new life in sunny Spain. A study has suggested that the complicated process of securing a visa to live in Spain was putting Britons off. Now that is the headline, right? So let's actually read what's in the body of the text. The British dream of moving to live under the Spanish sun is slowly fading as Brexit bureaucracy has meant fewer UK citizens are making new lives um, on the Costa, so Costa del Sol. Geordie Ginner, an expert who has studied expert rights for the past decade, has said anecdotal evidence suggested the complicated process of securing a visa to live in Spain was putting Britons off. Now let's read the next part. The study has not been completed, but Dr. Ginner said she believes that a pattern is emerging that shows Britons are less likely to move to Spain, and they are being replaced by people from other EU countries who do not have to apply for visas. So they're saying that there's evidence, but the study has not been completed. I don't know how that works. Employment and self-employment visas also require the applicant to demonstrate they have at least £24,000 per year to sustain them. To sustain themselves. There are also student research and internship visas. So there are paths for you to still move abroad. And this made me chuckle because I wonder if there is basically an agenda to stop people from trying to move away, because there are still paths for you to move. And so if anybody was thinking of moving and you're in a position to move, don't let things like this stop you, please. Um, yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. Light side of the moon. They are holding them hostage? Who hostage? Explain that comment. Poetry. I did see a Brit on Twitter saying the young and creative shouldn't stay in England any longer. Yes, yes. And that's why I honestly think that you're seeing articles like this. Like, it's not by accident that this would come out just now. No way. Poetry is polite. I'm working on getting a passport because the US ain't it. You should go and follow Stephanie Perry on YouTube. Just Google Stephanie Perry. She's got a lot of information for those in the US. All right, on to the next thing. Right, what are we gonna go for first? Right, there's quite a bit. I think we've got about 30 slides today. No, we're not going to talk about Piers Morgan at the moment. Okay, let's talk about Whoopi. Oh, Whoopi, girl. Highly, highly disappointed, but not surprised. So, Whoopi made some comments on The View regarding Meghan's comments about deal or no deal, and um, feeling objectified. And obvious for reasons obvious, people came for her. I'm just wondering, Whoopi being in the position that she's in, she's on a talk show. Why wouldn't you actually just call Meghan and what like actually ask her to even just come on the show and like actually say her side and defend herself, because this is a very important conversation that we should be having as women. And instead of using the platform of The View to say, do you know what, let's come on and have this conversation. Maybe I've misunderstood you. Maybe I don't understand things from your perspective, because that's what the whole Archetypes podcast is about. It's about understanding things from different people's perspectives. And she said on The View, okay, I just want to say that on that show you basically had a suitcase and they wanted to know, is this the deal you want or is this not the deal you want? I don't know that the people who are sitting there are thinking about you like that. They're thinking, I want the money. So she's clearly just missed the whole point of of Meghan's podcast. And so she also says the objectification might be coming from you and how you felt about how these women were being portrayed, and that's what you have to change. When you're a performer, you take the gig. Sometimes you're in a bozo suit, sometimes you've got a big nose, and that's just the way it is. I don't think that people are looking at the girls like this. Well, they clearly are. If the girls are dressed one way and the men are fully clothed, then clearly people are looking at them that way. Okay, let's not beat around the bush about that. And again, it's like what Meghan said in her podcast. Just because something is the way it is doesn't mean that we can't challenge it and we can't reflect on it and see what could be wrong with this. Now, somebody posted a very good point on Twitter that I wanted to share. The spoiler spot said, "I'm speaking as a historian, not look shaming. Whoopi will never understand having a face and figure men see as a trophy. Meghan can speak on objectification because she looks like the type of woman men have historically objectified. I'm glad Meghan is speaking about this, and I responded to that wonderful tweet by saying, on the other side of the bimbo archetype is a woman who men disregard because they don't fit a narrow ideal of beauty. That could have been another fantastic conversation we could have. Whoopi would rather attack Meghan instead of the male gaze that has likely made her feel inadequate. And that's actually the problem here, is that Whoopi is projecting onto Meghan, I think, the way a lot of men have made her feel, because Whoopi doesn't fit that very narrow um idea of what it is, sort of narrow Western idea of what it is to be beautiful. And being in Hollywood, being a dark skinned black woman who has phenotypically the full African phenotype, I can imagine it would be very difficult for her. And I remember even growing up, like, you'd have aunties and relatives, female relatives saying things like, oh, she Whoopi ugly. And it's just horrible. um the way in which I feel like society, even within the black community, let alone racist society in general, speaks about dark skinned black women who look like Whoopi. It's disgusting how they speak about them, and that in itself could be a whole conversation that we could have. And this actually reminded me of a situation I had at one place where I worked, where they hired a guy at work who was a complete perv. He hit on almost every woman in the office, including the part-time cleaner lady. He hit on every woman except for one. And afterwards, when he got fired, um, we were kind of having a conversation between the girls, and it came to light that there was this one girl in the office that he didn't hit on, and I could see that she was slightly, actually visibly disappointed that this perv did not hit on her. And it just made me think, why would a woman who, mind you, was the most competent, most organized, most intelligent woman in our office feel upset that that type of man did not show her any attention? And it's just really sad that there are some women that will seek any and all validation, perhaps because of the way that they are treated by men. And that's kind of what I'm seeing in Whoopi, in what she's projecting onto Meghan. And I saw this had popped up on Twitter. Um, this is something that Whoopi has said about Me Too. If they're blaming women with this line of thought, Whoopi made it clear that okay, well, so she has said, I would say you have to make a decision. It's a hard decision for women because you say, am I ever going to get the opportunity again? Will I still work? Am I going to be blackballed? Said Goldberg during the View on Tuesday. It's a decision that is hard for folks to make. It's not one that would sit well with me. I couldn't take the money. And it's interesting when we talk about this dynamic, especially in Hollywood, where you have very powerful men and actresses, singers, whatnot, trying to make a career. Why is it that the conversation always focuses on the woman who is in a lesser position and not the men who have all the power? The conversation becomes, oh, she slept her way to the top. Oh, she was willing to do this for money, and not um, he denied her of an opportunity because she did not want to give him a sexual favor. But anyway, I will go to your comments before we continue with that one. Oh, I'm seeing some of you saying I'm scoping out Espana, Portugal. Oh, very nice. Join Commonwealth. Yes, I have more than one passport. Is important. Yes, absolutely is important. There's who is it on YouTube? The Nomad Capitalist, Martin Henderson. If you want to learn about flag theory and getting multiple passports, go and check him out. He's awesome. Yeah, a lot of you saying hands down to Whoopi. Absolutely not. Marina, Whoopi has had issues in her career herself. She's an archetype herself, yes. And why would you not just reach out to Meghan and say, do you know what, this is amazing what you have done with your podcast? Could I please talk about my experience? I do think that Whoopi's experience is one that's uh, worth talking about. But when she acts like this, you just think, oh, what a mean person. Oh, and also, I never knew about this. Was shocking to me. Okay, so this before I bring on callers, Roseanne and Lights Out the Moon, I'll bring you on right in a moment. So this was Whoopi apparently kikiing while her boyfriend Ted, so this was back in the day, wears blackface. We don't have to take her seriously. So, and then somebody else said, so true. It's even worse than that. She was the one who told him it was okay to wear the blackface. Well, obviously, because look, there she is smiling. He broke up with her over that advice. Whoopi does a lot of good things, but there's a side to her that can be malicious. I mean, oof, get some self-esteem, girl. Like, this is not okay. This is not okay at all. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that she's behaving in this manner. Carol, Whoopi needs to quit. If it was just about the suitcase, then why dress him in skimpy outfits? Yes, and in the UK, Deal or No Deal, I don't think we even have Deal or No Deal girls, and it's still one of the most at least the last I checked, I haven't watched TV in a while, but at the time, a very popular show, and you don't need the girls there for people to want to watch it. Oh, Dilly, you just seen the Crown trailer. Fantastic. It's amazing, isn't it? Official Lauren Brown. Did you get my email, Lauren? There is colorism, and it's hard for someone to then see the pain of people not experiencing that same burden to that same extent. Yeah, but she's I feel like Meghan does play well, she has come out and acknowledged colorism, and she, I feel, does try her best to give back to and support all women, but Black women also. And this is another thing that was brought up in the Archetypes podcast about how she felt that it's only when she married Harry that she was treated like a Black woman and not a white passing biracial woman. All right, we are going to start with the call in. So, Roseanne. Roseanne? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, hon. Go right ahead.
Well, let me turn up this. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Okay, I'm just about hearing you. I don't know why. Hold on, let me. All right, so I just jumped on here because I wasn't planning to. I was just gonna plan to listen like last week.
Okay.
But after having heard all of this, just the past week has just been like you press fast forward on history. Somebody made a comment on here earlier. I think it was Miss P talks about Liz Truss and whoever. And on the one hand, I get what she's saying, but just like what you said, Anne, there are some women. Just look what happened with Suella Braverman, the former Home Secretary that resigned a few days back, and she was saying,
was Sorry, was this the one, for those who don't live in the UK, the one who was saying that she would jump with glee if she saw refugees getting on the flights to Rwanda, right?
Yeah, she said that's her dream. She dreams about it.
Yeah.
So it's not just that she's gonna jump with joy. So she dreams about it. Can you imagine? So there are women out there, whether they're doing it because they're completely sociopathic, psychopathic, whatever you want to call it, pathic, or they're doing it just to whip up, like somebody said, I think it was James O'Brien, that Suella Braverman, she had the racist crowd. And I thought to myself, no, they're just the add-on. She already has the people from her background, Asian, whatever, to be on her side. So she's already got a big contingent, but to fill out the gaps more, to make sure she's re-elected or whatever, she also courts the racist side. She has to do that. That the Tory party has done that for decades now, especially since people of color have migrated here en masse from the 30s and 40s. Right? There are already black people here already in this country, but not on the level in the intensity since after the Second World War. So with all of that going on now, and then you hear that the Met Police are being investigated for racism and misogyny and all that kind of stuff, you can now see the dirty underbelly of this country, what is happening here. And yeah, it might not be the best place to talk about this, but there's so much things imploding right now. It's like, when is something going to actually calm down? When are things going to just get, normal and just be okay? Will we ever get back to that? And then now we have all these different people, former prime ministers, older acting people, having a go at the crown until the crown Netflix steps back, though, the makers of the crown, and says, oh, it is inspired by true events, but some of it is fictionalized. I'm thinking, why did you allow them to bully you into that? So what they're saying is they've acquiesced to tampon Charles, because he's not a king to me, right? And his side chick and his bully son, to say that what Diana said yet again and what she went through was just fiction at their hands. And I thought to myself, this incessant bullying and one-upmanship in politics, in the RF, the royal family, it is just making, like you were saying before, people were saying, and I've seen that, I've had the arguments on Twitter just recently with these derangers, and they're saying the same thing. One of the time I had an argument with them and said, I've studied law. So in this country, when you study law as a degree, you are told that the royal family, they're not just bystanders in the legal system. The very fact that it has Crown Court and Regina against whatever means that they're an active part of it. But they would have you think that, and one of them turned to me and said, well, you must have got a pathetic law degree. I said, no, it's a law degree in this country at a university. And that is what in fact, lecturers of law degrees have contempt for the royal family because of their lies, that they are not part of the legal system and whatever. They're part of it, but at the same time, the law doesn't apply to them. So with all of this going on, it's like, well, where do these lies stop? And I think that is what's messing people's heads up in the current situation. You're not just seeing it in the media, you're seeing it, the covert lies with the royal family. Then you see it with the politicians. And as you said before, they love to get in bed with the Tory politicians, who we know are the most racist ones out there. Right?
Let me
I
ask you.
somebody on Twitter just today who was saying that no the royal family never had to deal with somebody being bullied, one of their employees, and I had to turn around and say to that person that there was a mixed black woman working as a typist for Charles who was being bullied, racially abused, called an N-word typist by the white staff around her. When she went to Charles to complain, he didn't do anything about it. And then when she tried to go to have a lawyer to sue the royal family for the abuse, that is when she found out the royal family are above being sued for anything to do with employment.
Yeah, to do with race or sex. So thank you very much for that, Roseanne. I just wanted to ask you though, before I move on to the next person, who do you think the next prime minister is going to be? Do you think it's going to go back to Boris?
If it goes back to Boris, which it could well do, those who are not already packing to leave this country, leave. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And if you have the ability to get another second passport, whether it's Irish, whether it's African, whether it's Caribbean, if you have any ancestry outside of Britain, whether you're born and raised here or not, and your mother is born, your parents, get your passports of other countries by descent. I was born in Britain. I was raised in Jamaica. I am going to get my Jamaican passport because I can get it by descent. Okay, so I would strongly suggest, and I'm not telling people what to do, as soon as Brexit happened, this is how wise a lot of people are. As soon as Brexit happened, you know what a lot of people with Irish backgrounds did? They went and got an Irish passport because it gives them access to the EU and beyond. And these are people who only had an Irish grandparent, and these are mixed people as well. There's a lot of that. They said they were shocked with a lot of mixed people who were born and raised in England or wherever were saying because they have Irish ancestry, and I'm talking about the Republic of Ireland with the harp on the front of the passports. Get them. If you have Irish ancestry, African, Caribbean, anywhere outside of this country, please get a different passport, because the British passport is as worthless as toilet paper. And I'm not being nasty saying that. Just please, everybody, be wise, because if they tell us all to leave, what do you think is going to happen anyway? It's happened before. It's happened before with Uganda, when they were asking, when Idi Amin was asking all the Indians and Asians to leave, either give up your British passport or leave Uganda. In the was it in the 60s, early 70s?
Yeah, that was.
They left.
Yeah, that's often.
They didn't want to give up their British passport, and they came here as refugees, got £300, which was a lot of money at the time, and they were able to set up corner shops.
All right, thank you so much for that.
It can happen. It can happen.
Yeah, it can happen, and you've raised a very good point about second passports. And yeah, I mean, there's so many ways that you can, if you are eligible, and that's something that you should definitely look into, especially with what's going on now. So thank you so much, Roseanne. Light to the moon. Hey, hun.
Hi, happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
I'm gonna say point this evening. First, I actually started watching The Crown this afternoon on my lunch break.
Did you watching from season 1?
No, I was just gonna admit, I am so busy. I literally watched a recap for season 3, and I started on season 4, but there's already a lot going on that, that's enough for me to process right now. I'm beefing up a little bit and readying for the next season, and then I'm probably gonna go back and watch season 1, 2, and 3. But it's really interesting, and I see why, and let me just admit this, like, I saw Ahmed's post on Twitter, and with everything that's happening with Judy Dench posting whatever about Netflix needing a disclaimer, and just people complaining about Netflix making sure they state that this is not real. I got really curious. I'm like, what is up with this Crown show? I'm not like a big TV watcher, and I have to commit a lot of time because I want to watch stuff from start to finish. And I'm really curious now. So I literally read the article, and I think it was written by Emma McKenzie, the one that he referenced. And she did a really good summary of, the complaining that's going on with the Crown and everything else that's happened, and how the royal family, going back to what the other caller had stated, and what you had stated also, how much control they have over their visibility. And it's something that you mentioned a couple weeks ago with the funeral for Queen Elizabeth II. So someone that's not in the UK and isn't in it 24/7, I can hear it, but when you see all these other people kind of saying the same thing, you're like, well, something's really going on, and they really have a lot of power with that. What I want to talk about those is the backlash and the focus that has been on Meghan's deal and no deal comment, a teeny tiny piece of a larger archetype interview with bigger issues that we should be focusing on. They could have picked anything else. And the one thing everyone from Meghan Kelly, Whoopi Goldberg, to I think I've seen maybe 2 or 3 ex Deal or No Deal women. I don't know what the proper name is for them because I'm not trying to discount their experiences, but the women that were holding the briefcases, like they've made 1 or 2 comments on Twitter, and everyone is focusing on one teeny tiny thing, and I believe erroneously, which is, she's kind of like bashing the role of Deal or No Deal, these women on the show. Like, if she felt like she was being objectified, why did she stay on it for so long? I didn't feel that way. And if you go back and even look at the transcripts from that episode, she clearly said, I felt. That I statement is so important for processing. I felt.
Yes.
This is my experience. I want to
Yes.
say that the women on the show were all smart, they're intelligent. I did not remember her bashing any of them and discounting anyone else's experience, right? So
Mhm.
this whole thing has been really it just like I'm like, what's happening? I don't get what's going on. Did you look at the same thing and listen to the same thing that I did? And Whoopi has a really big front stage. She's on The View. She is a longtime actress. You made some very strong points about the fact that she also experienced a different type of trial coming up as a dark-skinned Black woman with dreads in the industry, right? Completely different than probably Meghan's experience. She falls into the category of someone that is aesthetically pleasing to look at, is very attractive, and gets a different type of response. All of them are important. And it was disappointing for me to hear Whoopi come out and make a statement like that. I'm not surprised she did it because she's done some other things in the past that have kind of raised my eyebrows. But she came out
Mhm.
and she made a comment and making it seem like, well, if you didn't like the job, just leave. But at the same time, you're in the industry and you understand that, especially what this would have been 10, 15 years ago at the time that Meghan was on the
Yeah.
show. Yeah, right. And Me Too happened a couple years ago. Women and people are really just finding their footing to speak on the things that they've been experiencing, the things that we've been taught to keep our mouth shut on if you want to keep a job, if you want to get a job. It's not that we weren't
Yes.
uncomfortable. It's not
Yes.
that we didn't have an issue with it, but you have to make a decision and you gamble and say, how much do I want to eat and pay my rent? What is more important right now? And you bite your tongue and you buckle down. They've all done it. I've seen a panel of women on CNN have a discussion saying, we've all experienced this. And it's important for us to hear those conversations because no one is going to come out and be like, hey, this happened to me, because we've been taught to keep our mouths shut. So for her to discount that, is just, it's disappointing. And I saw Joy try to speak up a little bit. She's a little comedian and sometimes people don't take her seriously, but she made a point and said, well, you didn't see big women on that stage with briefcases. You saw a certain specific type. They were thin, they were beautiful, they had long hair. It
Mhm.
definitely was there for visuals only. And, you know, I think Sunny also spoke up and brought up another point, asking Whoopi and, basically saying this was her experience, that we talk about it, even though we've gone through it in the past. She was younger. And I think it's fair for her to have that conversation. So again, I hate to see us as women, especially women that have gone through stuff like this, um, instead of trying to understand and say, you know what, that may not be my experience, but I can
Mhm.
understand where that could happen. Instead, we flip it and try to discount the experience of someone else.
Yes, and who light side of the moon? Who does that benefit when women do that?
It doesn't benefit any of us. None of us at
Mhm.
all. The only individuals that could potentially benefit from that are the men that are already in the power position. They already have what they want. They're not at threat of being objectified. They're not at threat of losing their jobs, of having being cheated out of pay. Because you weren't fitting a certain role to appease certain people.
Yes.
So we're not helping each other as women. I think we need to watch out for each other. We need to try to understand each other, and we need to give each other support on those platforms, because I think that's the only way we can move that front forward.
Yes. Thank you so much, light side of the moon. That was so well said, and it's this whole subject and topic is so actually in line with a book that I'm reading right now, and I want to share it with you because I think it delves into this conversation in oh god, in a way that I almost find it creepy that I'm reading this. Sorry, I know the cover is a little bit weird, but I always find it kind of creepy that I'm reading this book at this very moment in time. So this is a book called Living Dolls by Natasha Walter. I'm so sorry for the creepy image, but that is actually the cover. I will take it off the screen in a minute, but I highly, highly, highly recommend every woman to read this book because she talks a lot about this weird dichotomy where women are and like how we're kind of the how we're basically kind of going back to this time where objectification is becoming almost like glamorized. And I might actually do like a separate podcast where we talk about this specifically in more detail. And I wish I could read passages. Okay, I'm gonna read like one passage actually. This was on page 10 where it says, although opportunities for women are still far wider than they were a generation ago, we are now seeing a resurgence of old sexism in new guises. Far from giving full scope to women's freedom and potential, the new hypersexual culture redefines female success through a narrow framework of sexual allure. And often, like sometimes, I think women feel that it's not that, wanting to be sexy or sexual allure is a bad thing or a negative thing at all, but sometimes especially when the men have the majority of the power, we often feel like that is through sexual allure that is the only power that we can have. So highly, highly recommend that book. Please go and read it, and I will let the next caller come on. Official Lauren Brown. Hello, hello.
Hi. You can hear me clearly, right?
Yes, I can hear you. Go right
Awesome,
ahead.
awesome. Okay, I was actually just about to type that the thing you said about how women react to when they feel they have power versus when they don't. It really is, I think, that's what this is like the core discussion of. I think Meghan had every right to speak her mind, especially on a platform that is hers. And I think her points were well spoken. What I'm noticing is it's a constant between it's generational, it's aesthetic, it is which is looks. It's about your personal experience. Everyone is taking their own personal experience and using it to judge the expressed experience of another.
Oh, okay. Lauren has. Oh, I think she's dropped out of the chat. So, Valerie, I'm gonna let you go. FYI, guys, I'm gonna just so we can get because there's quite a few people in the chat now. So I'm gonna do 5-minute time limits. Okay. So, Valerie, welcome to the chat.
Yeah, welcome everybody. How are you? How's everybody? How are you, Anne? How are you getting on with your judo?
Oh, amazing! I'm not as sore as I was in the previous week, so we're improving. Thank you for asking.
I just find it's incredibly sad at how everybody gets so worked up over what Meghan said. If you listen to her experience, it's what she said, and we've all had that experience. The sad thing with Whoopi, unfortunately, she was never regarded as pretty. And I think sometimes with her, she suffers from a little insecurity too, because she had very questionable relationships, and especially the one with Ted Danson, and also issue with blackface. If you look at her relationship with Ted Danson, and in the end, she didn't think it was funny, and in the end, it broke up, and he got whoever he got married to. The sad thing with those girls, a lot of those girls, when they went on doing a no deal, they wanted to, do it, get their money, and can move on. But the problem sometimes is when you start to make your money and then you realize what is involved, it does start to tear at your soul. I remember one time I was a job I used to do, and I was qualified to become to do secretary work, typist, and I always used to get it until when this lady, she moved elsewhere, and I got this man, and he could never get me these type of job, secretary. It was always that's all I could get you. He could never get me. He always used to start getting me jobs working as a messenger. It's all he could get me. And yet I heard that he got somebody else a job as a secretary, and the guy went and put his disc in wrongly, and he left. And I remember one time when I was working at Heathrow Airport, this lady came and she slammed down these letters in front of me for me to go and distribute, and she walked flung stuff. And while I was walking, I looked at myself and I realized how I had aged. I didn't realize it. And I realized this job isn't for me. So I left the same way. And sometimes it takes us guts for us to leave, because certain things, it doesn't suit our souls, whether we like it or not. And I know, and sometimes it is hard that we have to pay the bills and this, that, the other. And that's why sometimes you really have to ask God to help, because sometimes it's very, very badly how we're treated. And I think that we're now in a position that we do better. You mustn't condemn other people's relationships, because that is how she felt at the time. She never condemned the box, the case, the suitcase girl. She never condemned them, but she talked about her experience. And what I noticed is, as soon as she says something, they all pounce on them, and they all sound very stupid and silly. Especially Richard Medley. He was charged. He was in a problem at one time. He was involved in stealing, or they said he took something out of the shop without taking. He remembered that he did that. Susanna, she was in a relationship with she was never married. She had a partner, her longtime partner left her, and also people took things out of her house. She had everything, and people still took. So I don't understand. If this pouncing, everything Meghan said, you pounce, and while they're pouncing on Meghan, they don't seem to realize that they're in this country where literally it's going down in flames, and yet you're pouncing on Meghan. You've got a country, we're in a country at this present time when you've had 8 prime ministers or 3 chancellors, things like that. Since we've left the EU, we're actually sinking, and we can't see, and yet you're pouncing on, yet you're pouncing on Meghan. Meghan is not the real issue. And I personally think many of these corporations, it's time for all of them to go. Good Morning Britain is a lot of rubbish. And I really hope and pray that British people finally wake up, because I know there's lots of demonstrations. They wake up from their stupor and see what these people are really doing, and demand, because even if you might not necessarily go on the streets, if they write letters to their MPs, their Conservative MPs, and they get £1,000 letters a day, they would call a general election. But one thing though, I've noticed now, a lot of older people, as soon as they see themselves on a micro, they're calling for a general election. And we just have to keep on at it.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Valerie. And I have to ask you, next Prime Minister, do you think Boris is coming back, or is it going to be someone else?
If Boris, I think, to be honest, they now want to do. I think they know that they're going to to lose the next election, but they want to string it out as long. And I think that what they want to do is they want to make as much money. I would like to say Rishi, but I hope they don't get him back, because I will serve him right anyway, because he's a fool and another gatekeeper. Possibly Boris, but it wouldn't surprise me, or Penny Mordaunt, someone of them.
Oh, Penny. Yeah. Actually, that's quite a good guess, Penny. All right, Valerie. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you very much.
your words, as always. Thank you. All right. Official Lauren Brown, I will let you back in. Not quite sure what happened there.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Continue where you left off.
All right. And also I did get your email. Thank you. Okay. So I was talking wow, sorry about that motorcycle in the background if you heard it. I was talking about power, and so much of what's
Yes.
happening is dealing with the power structure that women have to go through, which is worsened when you're a woman of color by colorism. And so there is this kind of everybody scraping for some way to get out of the barrel. And at times, what does that mean? We pinch each other. And do I wish that the comments were not said and that support was given instead? Absolutely. And I kind of feel almost like there's no winning for Meghan when it comes to giving her opinion. So I think what I'm most proud of is that she does it anyway. Frankly,
Yeah.
I don't think, as a person who has the privilege of having light skin, I'm not going to speak to Whoopi's experience, but what I'm going to say is that you hope that elders kind of get to a point where they can see beyond their pain to the circumstance of the human, and not just elders, all people. So again, we all wish that the statements were different, but I also recognize that she came up in a very hard time where she was alone. She was completely alone. And as someone had said before, I think it was Light Side of the Moon, she had nobody, and she was often used as the butt of a joke in relation to beauty. And so I think it can be hard for people to have empathy if they see someone coming from a place of privilege, not recognizing that regardless, pain is still pain. So I hate to be the person who says I see both sides, because that feels like a cop out, which is not intended. But I think if you look at the biggest picture, and this is me wrapping up, it's about who has power. And in the end, as long as women don't stick together, we don't have the power to challenge these structures that make all of us uncomfortable and put us all in these situations where, we have to say later what we felt. We have to, in order to keep the job, we have to put the other one down. And again, I'm proud that Meghan spoke her truth. I wish Whoopi the best. And you're doing a good job running this, because it can get testy. This is not a light subject. I'll mute until you tell me otherwise. All right.
Thank you so much. Well, it always helps when I have you all to contribute, and this is why I have the Friday talks now, so I can get a wide range of views and not just me yip yapping. So thank you as always for your contribution. All right, Flame, hello, welcome to the chat.
Oh, well, hello. How are you? Can you hear me?
Fantastic. Yes, I can hear you. Thank you for joining us this Friday.
Okay. Nice to be here. I enjoyed it so much last time. I was almost like a little kid. I was like, I gotta make it back. Before it goes on.
Fantastic. Well, welcome back. Happy to have you here.
Thank you. Wow. Which one we were still talking about? Whoopi?
Yeah. Oh, anything, any of the subjects you want to talk about? Anything about UK politics? I mean, we've still got a couple slides to go over after this. I don't think we even got to the crown yet. But go right ahead.
Oh, God. Okay. UK politics. Well, you know what? There was an English commentator on, I think it was good, Morning Joe today, maybe. And I think I'll go with his summation when Mika was asking him about what was happening if Boris Johnson was going to come back, and he said it would be like a dog returning to his vomit. So I'll just go with that because it is messed up. It's totally messed up over there. I don't understand. Somebody have to explain to me how that system works, because I don't understand how it's a democracy. I don't understand how the queen can tell them to change a law and exclude her when she don't like the law, and that she can fire. Was it 64 when she fired a prime minister or something? And I'm like, how is that a democracy when she can change the law and fire people? So I don't understand how somebody has to explain to me how that works, because it doesn't seem like that's a democracy to me. But I don't think I understand how it works completely. But with Whoopi and Megan, her Whoopi's comment, uh, I would like to say that I can empathize with Whoopi because I'm older. Well, I'm not as old as she is, but that I can empathize with her. But I find it difficult. I've learned to do it better in my older age, because when I was younger, I didn't empathize with her at all. I was like, she's not speaking up and she's just against the black people. What's wrong with, you know? And because I'm that type, I'm with you. I'm gonna be down with you. We just go down together. I'm not gonna, throw you to the wolves. So that's the way I feel. But by the same token, she had, as I looked at it from a distance, and as I got older, Whoopi was out there by herself in the 80s and 90s. And she was a dark-skinned black woman, and she wasn't considered pretty. And she was the butt of all jokes, and she made some bad choices. And the one, like they mentioned, with Ted Danson, he really loved her. He really loved her, and she made a decision. She thought it would be funny to do this thing. I think it's with comedians or something. It's supposed to be kept private. And she did a thing in blackface with him. And one of the people there who originally supposed to always keep that quiet wherever they were doing that, I think it was Montel Williams. He had a show at that time. He busted her, said what she did, and so her relationship went up in flames with Ted Danson. And so she was out there, really, people who helped her because they liked her. She's mentioned that Patrick Swayze was the reason that she was in Ghost, because they didn't want her, but he did, and he stood up for her. And she mentioned the same with Whitney Houston. Nobody wanted Whitney Houston to do The Bodyguard except Kevin Costner. He fought for her, and once he got her there, then the studio execs fell in love with her. So I had to look at it from her perspective of having to fight by herself, and we could be black and be over on the side, but we weren't out there with her dealing with these people. And she had said earlier on that Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, this was a long time ago, were consistently the two men who were saying that she was attractive. And so that let me know that most of the people were telling her she wasn't attractive. And this was way back when she did Claire's Heart with, I can't think of the gentleman's name. He used to play Doogie Howser when he was a little boy, and I can't think of his name. But anyway, that she was attractive, so she had to deal with that a long time. And I don't think she has empathy for Meghan, because she's never been on that side and understand what Meghan might have been going through. But Meghan had a right to speak her mind, and as a good podcast host, she was doing the thing about bimbos, and she's supposed to be able to relate to her interviewee, and she was relating an experience that she felt was comparable to her being a bimbo and being objectified in that way, and that was her example. But it was taken out of context and used against her, and Whoopi was one of the ones that did it, and I was sorely disappointed in her for doing that. So
Yeah. I mean, yes, Whoopi may not be able to understand it from Meghan's perspective directly, but she can understand it from the other side. So why not, like I said earlier, why not contact Meghan and say, do you know what? Let's have a conversation about it from the other side, which I'm sure is something that Meghan would have been open to. But thank you so much for your comments, Flame. Thank you.
thank you.
All right, Mina Ruth, welcome to the live chat.
Hi, how are you?
Fantastic.
Oh, okay, that's good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you great. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I agree with the last caller said. It's very disappointing and sad that Whoopi would say, I guess, discouraging things about Meghan. But then again, I'm not too surprised. I just hope that she or Meghan will be able to reach out to each other and maybe have a conversation, even on Meghan's podcast, to talk about the issues that they have experienced. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah, and I think that would be very, very powerful.
Yeah. Let me see. Oh, I just started watching The Crown as well. I'm trying to get caught up before season 5 comes out. So that's all I
Okay.
wanted to
When
say.
have you never watched the Crown, or what? Like, where are you starting from?
From the beginning.
From the beginning. All right. All right. Well, enjoy. Enjoy.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you, Mina. Poetry is polite. Welcome to the chat. Poetry is polite. Have you spoken before?
I have. It's been a while.
All right. All right. Thanks for joining us.
Hi Anne, how are you doing? Hi ladies.
Fantastic.
So I just, with the whole Whoopi thing, it kind of reminded me of, well, no, one, it was purposeful. The way that she came at Meghan, I can't look at it with rose-tinted glasses. Like it's a business one. I think people are missing that. Whoopi, The View is a business. They have to say things that are sometimes inflammatory or to get people's attention. Otherwise, no one would tune in, right? So it was sad to see her use Meghan because she knows, I mean, everyone knows that Meghan has been beat to death for just existing. So the fact that she did that, and I think it was for views and for attention, but it also reminded me of, I don't know if you guys remember when after the Oprah interview, someone, I don't know if it was a Daily Mail or somebody, contacted the Black guy that was Meghan's father on Suits and asked him what he thought about it. He didn't even see it. And he came out super aggressive, like, well, the monarchy isn't really necessary and blah, 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 blah. And everybody was like, and then he was like, oh, wait, what? Like, I didn't see it. And she's like, so why did you say anything? How do you speak on something you didn't see? And then he had to retract it and be like, oh, no, they tried to get me caught up. I didn't see it. I didn't know she said she wanted to kill herself. And just like, why? I think it's money as well for Claudia Jordan. I definitely think she was paid to do that because she said, I think, what was her response when people went after her? She was like, oh, well, I've been busy for 4 days and I just couldn't have time to know what the hell I'm saying. Like, what? Really? Stop. Like, it had to be money. It had to be money. And again, Meghan didn't mention Howie Mandel, and it's just funny how you have a Black woman defecating on a Black woman to cover a white man who wasn't even mentioned. Like, you can't even make it make sense. And it's like, it's sad. I'm so tired of people trying to speak for other people's experiences. It's just like what Meghan said in the Variety interview. People are multifaceted. Everyone has 18,000 layers. No person is just one way. You catch a person at a different minute, different hour, you might catch 5 different people and you're like, who the hell is this? Well, this is me at 5 p.m. People are complex. It's just, I'm so sick of it. And it also reminded me of that Kingdom Choir lady when all the poop had hit the fan when Harry and Meghan were leaving. And I know the Crown gave her a couple alphabets to put behind her name. So she's a special Negro. And she did, I don't know how many.
Sorry, is this the one
gray
that
hair
sang at the
Yes.
at the wedding, right?
Yes, but she's
Yeah, I
the
remember
leader of the
one of
choir.
them was quite shady afterwards. I do remember
Yes,
that.
it was her. She was in several documentaries and was like, oh, well, I don't know why Meghan was this way and that way. And, Charles was always great to me. He paid you to sing and you sung. So please stop. Like, you can't speak for Meghan's. So, what was that time when you married into the royal family and got pregnant? Oh, wait, no, it didn't happen. Shut up. It's alarming how many Black people are just so quick to just raise their hands. Oh, pick me. I will be the one to defecate on a Negro. I would love to do it. And the fact that Black people know this worldwide, this is about as common as brown eyes. And for Black people to keep acting like they don't know that white people get off on other Black people defecating on other Black people, it is a sport for them. They live for it. And to see so many Black people just act like, oh, they don't know what the consequences are. You know what's going to happen. You know who's getting off on this, and it's not Black people. I just hope that Meghan sees this and maybe changes her setup of the podcast. So I know she uses her own personal experiences to connect with her interviewees, but I wish she would maybe flip it. Instead of putting her personal anecdotes in the beginning, put it towards the end and literally make people listen to it. Because I think people, if they are listening to it, like they said, there's a lot of people hate listening. If they are, Meghan says like her personal things in the beginning, I guess to make people continue listening, but that's it. That's all they needed. And then they're writing 18,000 articles about how she hates avocados and is trying to murder 2-year-olds. So
But
hopefully,
then
I just hope she
do you
listens.
think that if she does then do that, it's almost as if she's muzzled herself, because the flip, yes, they're going to twist every single word, but the flip side of that is that, number one, her words will be out there for everybody to hear, and in the future, when all of this blows over, no one can rewrite Meghan's history for her because her words are out there, right?
Yeah, that's very true. But do you remember when Meghan finally started just, getting out in the world? I mean, she was pregnant for like ever. And then when she started to speak out, they started dropping things for basically an American time. It was not catered to England. I don't know if you remember in the very beginning, I guess 2021 or maybe towards the end of 2020, it was always like early in the morning American time,
Oh
not
yeah,
British. So
yeah.
Britain had to
Like
catch
when
up.
like when the Oprah interview hit, trailer hit.
Yeah. So they had to keep up. So then you had started seeing Ship and all those trash people staying up till 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning to try to hurry up and put out an article to make sure no one said anything nice about her. So, I mean, to me, I saw that as though she is hip to the game. So it's just an idea to maybe just change the format a bit and make people actually listen. It is good that people are talking about what she's talking about, but they are cheapening it by making it seem like, oh, how dare she talk about herself on her podcast? Like, it's just she can't win. And I take it
Yeah.
personally because, and I think also, I'm sorry, I'll wrap it up. But I think a lot of people, a lot of Black people and Black women don't believe in themselves. We all have gifts and talents. And I think there's a lot of Black women who know that they're capable, well, want to do a lot of things, but don't think they can. And what's happening to Meghan, I take it personally because I do believe in myself and I do believe that I have a gigantic purpose in this world. Not to sound arrogant at all, but it just is what it is. So I take offense to this because I could see this happening to me, and that's awful. And I think that
Yeah,
is one of Meghan's hugest problems, that people don't see that that could be them, and that's sad.
yeah,
And
that's
I
true.
mean,
And thank you so much, Poetry Polite. And you've raised a great point, because often when we do get into these spaces, as Megan has done, you are still belittled, and the fact that you are so accomplished and you carry yourself well, that then becomes a problem, because who do you think you are? Those, the uppity so and so. Right, Rahini. Hello, Rahini. How are you?
Hi. Oh my goodness. We just came from bar and enjoying it, and you are here burning up the airways.
Thanks for coming over.
You are here burning up the airways the same way. It a good bit of it is the fact that she isn't shrinking.
Yes.
She isn't shrinking. They have thrown everything at her and the kitchen sink, and it doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah, still our
It doesn't
rise.
seem to be working. She's still rising. And I think someone said she just says what she says, and she says it once. You realize that? She doesn't go in and explain, and there are 59 stories, you know, because I think by now, to my count, there are about 15 versions of Crygate. There are
Not
about
to surprise.
15 versions of Crygate. But you know how many times Megan spoke about Crygate? Once.
Once.
She spoke her truth. She spoke the truth and shamed the devil. That was it. And there is a level of power that comes with that. It's as if you light the match and you walk away.
Yes.
That's it. You light the match and you walk away. And the rest of them can't do that. They can't do that because there is no substance.
Mhm.
There's no substance. There's nothing there. There's nothing there for them to do that. And I think she's very careful in what she says, because even this Claudia person, she already has a reputation in the business. So, and my first thing was like, did somebody ask you? Were you were you asked to give a comment? I don't understand. Nobody asked you because she spoke about her feelings. Megan spoke about what happened to her. There how many suitcases were there? Like 50,
Yeah.
right? There were about 50 suitcases. So there are 50 women, and they probably had alternates if one couldn't make it. So it is obvious that not everybody's experience is going to be the same. She spoke about hers. She made sure and let everybody know I am speaking about myself. And not only that, in that same breath, she spoke about you highly. And she said, I also worked with smart women.
Intelligent. Yes.
She told you that, but yet you still felt offended. Is it because you didn't have the courage to leave and you had to take what you get?
Mm.
Is it that? Is it that she was willing to say to herself, you know what, this isn't the right place for me, and I am going to leave because it's not. I don't like how it feels. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't fit me, so I'm going to leave. Is it that? And nobody asked you out of the blue. You did this. Why? Because obviously because you were paid. Because you might have some project going on that you want cloud for. And this is a constant thing that happens. And the last caller spoke about Megan taking out her personal experiences. I don't think it would work. I don't think it would work at all. I think if she never speaks about herself, they will still criticize that. She can't win. She
Yeah.
damned if she does, damned if she doesn't. And at the end of the day, the the smartest thing for her to do is to be herself. Because if you're going to crucify me for something, I might as well be me.
Mm.
I might as well be me. And I personally would not have it any other way at all. At all. And remember, she speaks once. It's like the old oh my goodness, is a British television show, Allo Allo. And you remember Michelle from the Resistance. Listen very carefully. I shall say this only once. Every time I think of her, I see that like I shall say this only once. And she said what she have to say, and she walk away. And you could burn in flames all you want. I said what I said, and I'm done with you. And there's power in that. There's power in that. And you just walk away and the person reeling and reeling. There's power. There's power. Until yes, B10, it is me. It is me, B10. She's asking if this is Rahini. It is me.
Right. Oh, thank you so much, Rahini, for your words as always. Right. Frederica, hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go right ahead, dear.
Okay, we're going to try this again because this is like the second or third time we've spoken with each other, and it's never worked. But let's pray and hope. Okay, first of all, I'm going to give my age away. I'm 57 years old, and I
Okay.
started at an ABC affiliate in the newsroom, running something called Traffic, and that is organizing all the stories for the newsroom. And I had
Right.
some fantastic opportunities. And when it came for me, time for me to go from running Traffic to being the producer to actually, I wanted to either be the weather girl or do consumer affairs. Um, I was told with a fiance, mind you, and a ring, a popping ring on my finger, that if I did not sleep with these people that or do sexual favors or whatever for these people, I would not have a job.
Wow.
And I this was like back in the 1990s. Okay, so I had started at our local newspaper writing for Star Trek. I'm still a Star Trek fan, and I thought, okay, I'll get some experience and with writing news and this, that, and the other, and I will see if I can uh, go to California, maybe get into a writing program and this, that, and the other. it was so difficult. I remember going to the producers of Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I love Star Trek, but at that time, and even until the present time, right now, they are only into optics when it comes to minorities, unless they really like you. Roxanne Dawson is the only female of the what we call classic or legacy generation that has actually had a really good directing career, and all the other women haven't. All right. And I just want people to know that these things are real. What Megan was offered in Deal No Deal, she got. And then there's another one from, I think, Beverly Hills 90210 that's now coming up. And they're talking about her giving a BG or BJ or whatever, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. And she did that. And then a couple of years later, she got Suits. And I have spoken to all the actors in Star Trek. You do not, I told you all the actors who have done a nude scene, okay, or who have been in these movies that you just shake your head at, and they are so glad that they have Star Trek, because at least with Star Trek, if you're doing a nude scene or this, that, and the other, it's not going to be gratuitous. It's not going to be something that you're going to be ashamed of. But there has been several Star Trek actors who have done the nude scenes, who have been in Playboy. I could just go on and on. And so to criticize Megan for, sitting there saying, this is not what I wanted for my life, walking away, and then trying to maybe, I have a feeling maybe on Beverly Hills 90201, there was only one or two black people on that show, if you can remember correctly, just like Saved by the Bell at that time. There was only one black person per show in those days. It's changed a lot. But I just want people to understand these issues, and to stop, denigrating her, because they don't talk about Kate or Catherine Milliton, and Kate selling her body or being in these fashion shows. Kate was a model in a lot of high school, college fashion shows, and she was wearing next to nothing. The dress she got that got Prince William's attention is just is nothing. It's a slip of claw. So to sit here and criticize these women for what they have to do to get ahead and stuff is, I think we know it was the time of Harvey Weinstein, and it still
Yeah.
is, and it hasn't changed. It has not changed and stuff. And to have the palace sit here and, like the lady said before, the United Kingdom. I'm in Germany right now. The United Kingdom is going through horrific issues with in terms of economic issues, not being able to feed everyone. My job that I have now, I moved to Germany. I got out of show business. I moved to Germany. Now I'm in education. And Germany, we had a first wave of Syrians, Afghanistans, and Africans, and now we've had the second wave of Ukrainians and Russians who are running away from a war. And to use Meghan and Harry, to turn everybody's attention away from a possible nuclear attack or a nuclear strike by Russia, I find that just absolutely like the lowest and stuff. And to turn yeah, I'm sorry.
To distract from pretty much everything. And first and foremost, Federica, very sorry that happened to you. It's absolutely awful experience for any woman to go through, and unfortunately, it is just so normal in Hollywood, and it's pretty much
Yeah.
something that going into the industry,
hmm
not even just in Hollywood, actually. I mean, it can
Yeah.
be any industry, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think I would say it's the most normalized and quote unquote expected
hmm
if you are in Hollywood or like the music industry, entertainment industry,
hmm
in general. And I always wonder, like, when you have
hmm
these um, breakout stars, or especially in music, I have to say, like, we
hmm
had this like breakout female star, and she had a huge
hmm
album, and this, that, and the third, and then all of a sudden she just like falls off the, face
hmm
of the earth, and you just
Yeah.
think, well, what happened? Like, what did she refuse advances? And you've heard so many stories like this,
hmm
and you're right, like even post Me Too, we know that these
hmm
things are still going on, and Harvey Weinstein got everything he deserved, but I
hmm
feel like the
Yeah.
industry, the industry made him the boogeyman and the sacrificial lamb and hid
Hmm.
behind him when
Yeah,
there were
of
so
course.
many
Yeah.
more. There were so many
There's
more that should have gone down with
there's
him.
so many more. I was living in Nebraska at the time. So if you can imagine living in Nebraska and you're fighting over airtime, okay? And I'm African American, but I did my genetics and I'm like 25% white. So I'm caramel colored. So I'm Megan's, lighter than I am, but I'm not African colored. And I got it on that end too. Oh, you're a beautiful girl, but you're caramel colored. You know, I'm, I passed the brown paper bag test barely and stuff, but the amount of racism and this, that, and the other that is just, like oozing out. And going back to like Whoopi Goldberg, I totally understand where Whoopi's coming from because I experienced it myself. It didn't matter how intelligent I was. I have a PhD. Didn't matter how intelligent I was. Some Barbie or some bimbo was going to get a job based on their looks, based on, looking like Barbie and Ken and this, that, and the other. It didn't matter if their commentary was okay or not. And America is suffering from that. America is suffering from sort of like, you have to look good and popularity and this, that, and the other. And as Martin Luther King says, the content, of their character and this, that, and the other, their intelligence. We're no longer in the United States and also in some parts of Europe uh, speaking or talking on an intellectual plane, or as our grandparents used to do. I shouldn't say as our grandparents, but it has like taken a deep slide into just being, what you look like and perverse and, you know, uh, designer bags and this, that, and the other that have absolutely nothing to do with, whether or not you can actually run or be a leader. And leadership is really lacking in television and stuff.
Oh, lacking
So
absolutely everywhere.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
thank you
and
so
it's
much for
yeah. And the last thing I want to say is, if you have noticed politics worldwide, African American women, Hispanic women, Asian women are stepping up to be like the voice of, to save. How can I say, to sort of like save our communities and save our political system. So what does that say
Mhm.
about the men who are now running it? And I think that's why they are afraid of Meghan, because she has substance. In Harry, he was just like, well, I started out dumb, but I'm going to wise up real quick. I was in the service and I saw everything and lived a little. And I think leadership, they want to break Meghan because they see a leadership in her that they didn't get in the Queen, and they haven't really had from the royal family in a long, long, long time. In terms of, for example, Prince Albert was very good in terms of housing people and bringing in these certain schemes, and that's like 150 years ago was Prince Albert when he brought in new leadership and sort of like got the household in order and told factories to look after their workers and to feed them properly and things like that. So that's what's missing. So that's all I want to say.
All right. Thank you so much, Federica. All right. I'm going to CN Adams. You are going to be the last caller. And so
Can you hear
go
me?
right ahead, Han. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hello, Anne. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank
Um,
you so much for joining us.
yeah, I'm kind of late, but um, I just kind of wanted to call in because I heard about what Whoopi said, and I don't agree with her, of course, but I
Mm.
do kind of understand where that like anger came from because Whoopi, even when she was what was the movie I think she did? What was it, The Color Purple? And she said that people would walk up to her and say that line to her, like, you sure is ugly, just in the street, regular people. And she was always really treated poorly for her skin color and the way she looked, even when she was young, starting out. So I get it, but I don't think it's fair because I don't think that the people, I think she said the people were more interested in getting the money. Those are contestants. And she obviously wasn't talking about contestants on being on that show. And Deal or No Deal, it was kind of skeevy. I don't know if anybody's been able to see it in the UK, but it was kind of skeevy. You know what I mean? The girls had dresses on that I can't imagine what went on backstage, but I really do believe that there will be nothing Meghan can do that'll be okay. You know, what's happening to her is kind of like the same thing that happened over here with Michelle Obama. There was nothing Michelle Obama could do. If she wore a shirt with the sleeves out, oh, she's got her muscly arms, oh, she tried to give good, school lunch to kids, and it was who does she think she is telling us what to feed our children? You know what I mean? And it was like whatever she did. But you have to understand that when guys that are successful or smart or handsome like Harry and Obama, and they meet a woman that really is their equal, and they just shine brighter with those women.
Yeah,
I think those
of
women
course.
just get hit harder. You know what I mean? Those two standing together, I mean, it's just hard not to even smile at them when you see them. You know what I mean? They just kind of radiate wherever they are. And my argument with this monarchy crap is, the thing I don't understand is they keep saying that the thing is, never complain and never explain. Well, that's uninteresting. Like, I'm sorry, that's not exciting at all. And despite all the other crap we know about Will and Kate and the rest of them, who cares? I mean, who cares? I'm going to just watch them on the back of a chair waving at something. Who cares? Like, nobody cares. It's not entertaining. I don't know why they can't get that. Like, no matter how much you hate these two people, or if you take their titles, or whatever you do to them, they are still going to be far more interesting than whatever's going on in that dusty old castle. I mean, the stories are so ridiculous. I mean, I saw
Yeah.
one where they said they were talking about in Wales. Oh, she went into the chapel and she wanted potpourri to be burning during her wedding. Well, good for her. It probably is dusty and musty up in there. You probably need some potpourri in that place. Get it together. Meanwhile, the people of Wales are fighting for their independence, and you're talking about potpourri, and you wonder why your throne is in question. They are so ridiculous. I just can't, it's like sometimes I don't even know if I should be worried. It's like they're like, oh, Harry and Meghan are going to ruin the monarchy. No, you guys are going to do it because you're so idiotic. Like, this is what you're spending your time on? Charles could be out right now and handing out cheeseburgers. He'd get a high five. No, we're going to complain about the crown. A bunch of crap we already know. Oh no, they're going to play it on the TV again. Oh God. But with that being said, I am done, but I have to say, I love, love, love your podcast.
Thank
am
you.
always just like wondering about the thoughts and the real thoughts and feelings of Black people around the world, because I know what I get on the TV ain't the word. You know what I'm saying? So I want the word, and I come here and get the word. And I really do appreciate everything you do. And I so enjoy your podcast so much. It's really great.
Thank you, and I enjoy having you all, and you make it what it is. I'm actually going to ask you and Rahini, if you don't mind, just stay on the line, because I do have another 10 slides to go through, and it'll be nice to have somebody else to feed off of before. I'm going to get through them very, very quickly, but if you wanted to interject, you're more than free to. Right, so I just wanted to go through. So speaking of the crown, actually no, before we go to the crown, I just wanted to point out, oh gosh, where was it now? There was someone else. Was it? No, that was something to do with Piers Morgan. We're not going to talk about him. Yes, this one. Erica Lee. So this is a so-called journalist. She tweeted this and deleted it very, very quickly, mind you. And she said, I've been a Meghan Markle stan, and I've always gave her the benefit of the doubt and defended her. But for someone who says she wanted privacy, again with the privacy nonsense, and then does the opposite, uses the Queen's death as clout. I
Wow.
mean, this is what we've been saying. These people, I don't even think she read the Variety article,
They never do.
because all she did was praise the Queen. She called the Queen the matriarch of the family. And yeah, people obviously let her know where to go, and then she deleted this. And there was also um gosh, where is it now? Where is it now? Ah, yes, Brooke Tamerling. So this is obviously a friend of the lady who interviewed Meghan for The Cut, and she said, "I have defended Meghan Markle when virtually no one around me will, but it's hard to do when she gives an interview to Variety magazine saying she was too open and trusting with Alison P. Davis and The Cut. I know the comms people she has worked with, they're all the best. She was well prepared, and as proudly me um, said in response, knowing the comms people does not equate to you knowing the agreement she had with Alison and The Cut. You can always quit supporting her. Stop using your outrage to advertise yourself, judging by your page. This is the most likes that you've had about her." And I'm sorry, but anybody who's actually read both The Cut and the Variety articles together, you can, especially now that we've had both of them come out, you can really sense that there is a bitterness and a saltiness in the Cut article, and the tone
Mm-hmm.
that was used in that article is like almost this underlying jealousy, in the way that she described Meghan's house, and Meghan's even the way that she described Meghan's mannerisms, I found very
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
strange, right? Did you
Yeah.
think that
I
maybe
agree.
that's an add-on?
Yeah, and I find it so disturbing. Like, I did see this tweet on Twitter, and I did mention, I said, I really find it very disturbing when they pick up a Black woman and then kind of look at Black women and go, why aren't you defending this Black woman, when the only reason you're doing it is to support your crazy narrative? That's it. I don't see you supporting Breonna Taylor or any of these other Black women who are getting mauled every day. But Alison P. Davies, let's defend her, who's on like a vacation or
Yes,
something. So it's very convenient to
yes.
use her. She's like not at work, or she's on some kind of vacay or something. So I find it all very bizarre.
Question.
Rahini, I saw that you unmuted yourself. Did you want to add something to that?
Yes, I have a question. I didn't read the Variety article. Did she mention Allison in the Variety article?
No.
No.
She basically, so she was asked about the cut and how it came across. I think the interviewer actually said that it came across as a bit snarky. And then sorry, you sound like you're underwater for a sec, Rahini, so I'm just gonna mute you. But and then Megan responded by saying, I'm really open, and I try not to, um let things like that make me feel jaded about the world, and I'll survive it. And she didn't. I don't think that she was rude towards
Mm-mm.
the lady that gave like, she gave a very classy and gracious response, and she did not mention Alison P. Davis by name.
You I kind of had a question too. Did you kind of take from what Megan said was kind of like, I kind of took it like she thought, maybe if I just kind of mute myself a bit, things would be a little easier for Harry. Didn't this like kind of come out before the Queen died? And then they went to that funeral and it was awful. Like, oh my gosh,
Mm,
they just couldn't stop, like shooting darts at her the entire time. And
yeah.
then the reaction she had on the walkabout, the way the people kind of treated her there, I just kind of took like what she was saying was, I feel bad that it makes it tough for my husband. Maybe if
Mm,
I weren't so open, or maybe if I, didn't do the
mm,
article, maybe
no,
things would tone down a bit.
I personally didn't take it like that. I took it as, I am myself. I am open, and if people want to, misrepresent my words, that's very sad. But I'm not going to allow it to make me become a jaded person. That's kind of how
Yeah.
I took it. I don't know.
I
And I
think I
think
have
she
to read
should.
it before I comment because I haven't read it as yet. I haven't read the variety. So I have to pay to read it. Right
Yeah.
now I'm kind of poor, so I can't really afford to pay to read it.
Oh, can you not? Could you know not? Is it paywalled on your end?
But you forgot the situation that I kind of in right now.
Oh, I'm so sorry, hon. If you need,
Yeah,
okay,
so
if
I don't
there's
really
anyone
have
in
the
the
money to do it.
if there's anyone in the squad that can send it to Raheen, or do you know what? Just email me and then I can somehow send it to you. Or if I think Karen has my number, so you can contact Karen and ask her. Alrighty. Another thing that I wanted to mention with the crown was um yeah, so this gentleman, Philip Murray, came out and said, I have a letter in the Times this morning about an old hobby horse of mine, which by which I mean archives rather than the crown. And he said, facts of the crown. So this is in response to Judi Dench. Sir Dame Judi Dench worries that the viewers may take the crown's version of history as wholly true. If they do, this will be this will be partly the fault of the palace. It has made strenuous efforts to prevent historians from gaining access to records on the Queen's 70-year reign, in particular by obtaining an absolute exemption from the Freedom of Information Act. This was actually news to me as a Brit, by the way, for papers relating to the sovereign and the second and third in line to the throne. If scholars are unable to write an accurate history of the monarchy, the field will be left to dramatists and those with vested interest in leaking information. Philip Murphy, Institute of Historical Research, University of London. Burn.
This is so ridiculous.
Right? But
I think
what a
it's
great
a
point he
shame
makes, right?
they're wheeling out old Judi Dench. I guess because she's a dame and she owes them, right?
Yes.
They laid the sword on her shoulders. I guess I don't know.
Quick, anybody under 90, do you know who Judy Dench even is?
Do
Yeah,
Does she,
I
does
know.
she
Yeah.
does she even do they even understand who they're speaking to? The people who log on to Netflix. Netflix is on the internet, right? And on the internet, there is young people. They don't know who Judy Dench is.
That's very true.
Do you understand?
Rainy with the
Who are they
shade.
talking to? Who is
Okay.
Judy Dench?
She has a good point. I watched
We,
an old Superman with my daughter, and she saw the phone booth and didn't know what it was. So
I'm just saying, you have kids that they don't even know what a CD is.
Yeah.
Okay,
Are
so
they
I
serious?
I do know who. Do you know what? I think people not only do they know who Judi Dench is, that they actually see her in a very
Expected
respectable,
way, yeah.
yeah, in a very respectable way. So for her to come out and say this and allow herself to be used like this, it was very surprising to me. Actually, I don't understand why you would allow yourself to be used like this by a sinking ship. And
She should
now
have
maybe
announced herself
people,
as M, maybe. M
sorry.
from she should have announced herself as M from Bond. Then maybe we know who you're talking about. But
Yeah.
Yeah. But
But it's sad. Yeah, I do think it's kind of sad.
yeah, it's sad because it's really put like a dent in her in her reputation, and I think how some people do see her. I think this is just very um a bad choice by her and her PR people. But I mean, I hope she got a good amount of bag. Anyway,
But I
so
think
this
that's what they do. I think that's kind of what the Whoopi thing was about. They
yeah,
always have to go out and find people. It's like with Kanye West. Like Kanye West is something crazy.
yes.
I've been done with Kanye West for forever. But it's like everybody has to walk up to the black people and go, "Black people, are you finished with him? Do you hear what he's doing? Do you see it? Tell everybody it's so awful." They have to come out and make us do that. And I don't know,
Yeah.
what it
I mean,
is.
I just don't care about Kanye. I just don't care. Like, please don't
He's
ask me.
so just ridiculous. Like, If you're paying any attention to him, you're just wasting your life. It's
Anyway,
just so, yeah.
yeah, let's not get
Let's not
sidetracked.
get on him at all.
That could be another chat. But the crown is coming from every corner. We are not only going to get to see the scenes of the famous, Diana's dress recreated. There was they are also going to include the scene where, or dramatize the scene where, Camilla wears the a similar dress with the necklace.
Mm.
So the crown is definitely going there. They're not holding back. And people are saying there's no way Peter Morgan is a royalist. Listen, Peter Morgan is he's a Hollywood type. He's gonna do everything he can to also, get the views. So I think that everybody who's involved in the crown, they are very aware of the environment that we're in, how Meghan has been treated, and how that relates to how Diana was treated. Don't know, Rahini, Ian Adams, you had anything to say about that?
I don't think they're going to be able to revive Camilla. I kind of learned about all this stuff from my grandmother, because my grandmother loved Diana. And there was, like, when I was a kid, there's just such a huge community of Black women here that adored her, especially when she went to Harlem and all the things she did there for Black women. There was just a big respect and love for her. And, God bless my grandmother. She was a sweet lady and she never liked to curse, but she used to call Camilla a pig. She said, she's a pig. She said, what self-respecting woman would do that? You know what I mean? And just stand front row and know you're doing that. You know what I mean? And this was from my grandmother. So I don't really get the disclaimer on the crown. Like, people have been talking about this over their coffee forever.
I think the today there's almost a wary acceptance of her. It's like, well, yeah, that's his wife. We might as well. She's been here for so long. So
Mm,
maybe it's not so much anger anymore, and they might be afraid that the anger and the hurt and the rage that every woman felt. My mother used to say, when one woman cry, all must cry,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we cried. And, because we saw a man so blatantly mistreat a woman who loved him. She loved him.
Yes, she did.
She
Yeah,
really did.
I
He
did.
is the luckiest man on the planet, to have two women that love you that much. Like, you serious?
And to fail them both,
Ex-
Rahini. Yeah.
it's so ridiculous, and it's really, really hard. And I think it's gonna stir up old wounds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I am just like the meme from Dharma is circulating on TikTok. I am really waiting for the T tapes, the T tapes
Yeah, and
to
they are
become
going to
a meme.
dramatize them.
I want to see it. I want to see it as a meme all over TikTok. I might just start a TikTok account just to do it. Just would, like, would you stitch it with me? Like, let's do it together. I'll be Charles.
Yeah.
I do, and he deserves it. Do you understand me? He deserves it. He deserves it.
And
Listen, you had enough years of happiness. You had enough. Take it now. You deserve it now. Listen, listen, channel your inner William and take your pegging. I'm sorry.
mhm,
Yeah.
Take it.
yeah,
Yeah. I
it's all
don't
kind
think
of
they're going to
coming full
survive it.
circle now.
I don't think they're going to survive it. I mean, because William and Kate, like, they're like, I'm not even being rude. I wouldn't say that people hate them here. I just don't even think they're thought about much
Yeah,
in
yeah,
America. They're just not a thing.
yeah,
Like, if they're on the TV, then they are, but nobody's going out of their way to see either one of them. And I think that in the thing with Charles and Camilla, I just think people are just so turned off by it. And
yeah.
with Diana being forever gone and can never come back, I just don't think it will play well ever. You know what I mean? I think every time people see them, they will be reminded that she's not there, and she should be.
Yeah.
So I think it's
And
all
it's so, and what is even worse, I think I said it over on Barron's, is that now with this part of the story, there's too much information out there
Yeah.
that they could draw on. So this idea that it is fictional and so forth, they listen to me, they don't need to make anything up. The same invisible contract that they had is going to work against them because the same tabloids will leak in every single thing in real time.
yeah.
You could see a scene and Google it and find out, but
Yeah.
wait, this is exactly how it happened. Do you understand me? Diana said in her own voice, the tapes are there. There were three people in
In this
this
marriage.
marriage.
Marriage,
She said
yeah.
Yeah.
so with her own mouth. This
Yeah.
is not speculation.
And then
You
like you
understand me?
said,
And they cannot hide behind this because now it
and you
is
can
the
see it
truth.
everywhere. Like I didn't know she was at the wedding, at Diana's wedding, until I
Yeah, in white.
saw the
In white.
what was it, the documentary HBO did, which was brilliant with no
Yes.
interviews, just playing the footage, and you can just see it as it happened. And I said, she's at the wedding. You know what I mean? I just kind of held my head like, oh my God, there was just like no end. You had like you just couldn't even be decent. You know,
Yeah.
it was just really cruel. And you kind of see her, her eyes go over to catch Camilla in the crowd, and you're just like, oh my, can you imagine what that felt like for her? Everybody's looking at you. That's already the thing at your wedding, but her wedding, and I just think it's too big. It's like even now with her death, everybody even remembers where they were when they heard Diana died, like it was 9/11 or something.
Mm.
You
And
know,
it's,
it's I don't think they can overcome it.
I think actually online now that you've mentioned that, I think that we should actually make a point of promoting that documentary because it's literally all from archival footage, and so you can't say that anything has been twisted or turned around or anything like that. But thank you so much, Ian
Yeah.
Adams. Right, and Rahini as well. Right, Tony and Mary, you came in at the last minute. I will let you each go, but just 2 minutes each, please. Frederica. Okay, Frederica, I'll let you go as well. Just 2 minutes each, please, ladies. I think I've been through most of the slides, and that's pretty much all I wanted to say for today. So we'll just finish with you, ladies. And thank you, as always, everyone. Thank you to the mods. Thank you, everyone, for the super stickers. And it was 3 of you: Daniel, Lottie, and Sandy. Powell. I didn't mention you during the live, but thank you, all 3 of you. So, um, Tony, would you like to speak?
Yes. Okay. Can you hear me well? Because my mic is not great.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Welcome to the
Okay,
chat. Have you
brilliant.
spoken
Okay.
before? I think you're new.
Okay, I'll be quick. 2 minutes. I just wanted to say
Yeah,
that I knew Megan first by through Suits because I really
yeah,
used to love the series and used to watch it, and I thought she was a very good actress. And then finding out when I saw on the paper that she was going out with Harry, I was like, oh my goodness. And a friend of mine said to me, he won't marry her. And I said, why? She said, oh, just watch and see. So when they got engaged and got married, and I got back to her, I said, "Oh, what did you say that he wouldn't do?" And then she kind of rolled her eyes at me. So I think she's an amazing woman and uh, a very good example. I spent hours and hours talking with my sister. My sister lives in Spain, and we just spent endless hours talking about Megan. And our younger sister just she's bored with us because that's all we do when we get into our WhatsApp once a week, and we just chatting, and just almost talking on top of the other, just all our views. It's exciting, and showing my sister that doesn't speak English. Otherwise, I said to her that I talked to her about your podcast, another podcast. So hopefully one day she will be able to speak English and listen to all the good things because she thinks that Megan doesn't have any support, but then you wouldn't find any of that in Spain. And that's something I've been thinking, having my head thinking, oh, I wouldn't mind doing a podcast in Spanish. and I'll have to investigate if there's anything already being done. But seeing all what you do and borrowing others, it's a lot of work. And I'm thinking, do I have the time to invest so much energy into doing this? So it's a challenge.
It is. I think especially when you're starting out. But okay, I'll let you go on for a little bit longer because you made a very good point. But just on what you've just said, number one, when you start, take your time and just do it. You can do. When I first started, I think I did like 3 or 4 episodes, and then I kind of stopped because I just couldn't do it. And then I think almost a year went past before I picked up again. And I think also Baron, I think there was like a period where he like kind of started and then he didn't start again until he kind of like found his mojo. So just, take it
Okay.
one episode at a time. You don't have to do it like every single day. You can even do weekly. Sussex Squad podcast was weekly. They weren't daily.
Okay.
And second thing I'd say, I mean, I'm very lucky. You are all very supportive, so I can pretty much do this, part time, and then do the day job part time. So hopefully you do get to that level where you can kind of split, your life. Yeah, it is a lot. I'm not gonna like even though I still do my other things during the day, I'm constantly, it's like throughout the day, almost every half hour, checking social media, screen printing things, having to put together the slides, having to make the intros and pick the music and all that. It is a lot, but when you start, just start simple. You don't have to do a whole fancy smancy, production. Just start simple. The most important thing is your voice and your message. And remember that to anybody listening, if you want to start something, your voice and your message. And if your voice is going to be in another language, that is amazing, because then you can speak to people that maybe I can't speak to. And there are foreign language squad podcasts. I think there's one, there's a couple of French ones, and then I think there's a Portuguese one that's based in Brazil. So I would actually love to see more Meghan fan podcasts in other languages. But yeah, go on, continue to make your point.
And the last thing I wanted to say is that um but last month I was looking for an agent because I do acting as well, and this lady, at the end of our meeting, I said to her, "Oh, I'm a Megan fan." I started to talk, and then she made she made a kind of catty comment. Said, "Oh well, I don't think that what she's saying is about anything to do with racism. She's doing it to revenge on the royal family." And I just couldn't believe my eyes. So because I thought I don't want to live in a bad term with her because I don't even know if she's going to represent me in the end or not. But as days passed and it was obvious it wasn't going to happen, and I didn't want her as an agent either. I sent her an email being polite, but ending the email saying that I said, finally, I wanted to make comment on Meghan Markle. For some people, she's like Marmite. Either you love her or you hate her. There are very strong feelings out there on each camp. But I say when it comes to racism, I believe her harassment is due to racism. Only when you have been at the receiving end, you know what it feels like. It can be disguised very well and look like it isn't. And I said many white people have a hard time understanding racism because they have never experienced it and never will. Having a friend, a partner, a child, etc., who's a victim can only make you empathize with them. Empathize, not understand the profound negative impact it has on a person in every sense. And then I just thank her again for the meeting. That was 30th of September. Didn't hear back from her.
Yeah,
So
and it's so I'm so sorry you had to deal with such a catchy person, but it's interesting how the respectability and the image of this institution suddenly only mattered as soon as Meghan started talking. Not when Charles was friends with the most notorious P and Rist in British history, Jimmy Savile. Not when Andrew was hanging out with Epstein. Not when Charles was cheating with Diana. No, all of a sudden we're now worried about the respectability and image of the royal family because of something Meghan said, and all she was doing was speaking her truth. But thank you so much for
thank
that.
you. Thank you for all you
And
do. And it's brilliant. I was so happy to find your podcast. Yeah.
no
Keep it
worries.
the
And
good
I
work.
thank you so much. And I 100% encourage you to start your own. All right, Mary, 2 minutes, please. Welcome to the chat.
Hi, um, Duchess of Success. Hi, Duchess
Hello.
of Success. Oh,
Hello.
sorry for coming in late because I was
No
listening
worries.
to another thing. Um, so what I wanted to say is, I've been thinking. Um, I was listening to something else. This perspective is from something else again, something different from this podcast. That the the pose they take is not, yeah, sorry, you're on phone, yeah,
Oh, have you got someone in the background there?
yeah. The pose they take about the royal family is
Mm-hmm.
not done around the country. It's just done in like the England. So the 60% that talking about is only England, basically.
Yeah.
So Scotland is about 50%. Then Wales is about the same number as Scotland, as she found out with that vote on Prince of Wales title.
Yeah.
Then Ireland, I think, is the same thing up on Wales and Scotland. So it's not 60% around. So basically, I was thinking about that.
It's very biased.
Yeah.
And sorry, can you remind me again where you're from, Mary?
I'm from London.
Oh, yeah, so you are based in London, and okay,
Yes.
and so, what do you think about the current political situation in the UK? Do you think it's going to be Boris Johnson next? It seems like there's quite a number of people in the Conservative Party that want him back.
Who are you talking to? Hold on.
Okay, I'm going to. Okay, we're gonna mute Mary for a while. Frederica, I'll let you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just put an Oreo in my mouth. Hang on. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna let. Okay, Flame, 2 minutes, please. Please do go.
Oh, hello. Hi.
Hi, because
I was
I
ready to
noticed that you
listen.
came back into the chat, so
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I noticed that you'd come back into the chat, so I'll give you
Oh,
2 minutes.
yes. Hi. Um, I it's just a mess over there. I can't even believe that happened. How long was she in there? 45 days. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think the people of Britain have got to come to a realization about what's going on with them. They have to come together. They need to start marching and organizing because they can't keep living under the rule the way it is. There's nobody looking out for them. I mean, I still can't get over when the children were they're still hungry and starving, but when it was so bad that the children were starving that the football players had to
Yeah.
gather together and feed their children. And then when they lost the championship, they were calling them all kind of racial slurs, but still no gratefulness for what they had done. And the queen was sitting over there with all that money, and it didn't even occur to her to feed her own people that she's been serving for 70 years. I mean, I didn't understand any of that. UNICEF, I think, had to come in and feed people.
Yes.
And even the
Yes.
embarrassment of that didn't make them be moved to try to help their own people. So, I mean, how can they not understand that? So it's like they're living in a bubble, a serious bubble that nothing penetrates, including their own people's suffering.
Yeah.
So I just don't see how much longer. I think it's coming to a breaking point because when Charles was out there, it wasn't just people from other like Wales complaining about him in Scotland, but there were people in England saying, I can't pay my one man in the line said, I cannot
Yes.
pay my light
My
bill.
energy
Why are
bills.
we paying
Yeah.
thousands of dollars for you?
Yes.
And he didn't have an answer for that because there is no good answer for that. You know? I mean, I I
Yeah.
feel bad for them. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just no reason.
yeah, you're so right about that, and I've actually forgotten to put it on a slide, but The people, literally, just a couple of hours ago, this came out. Let me see. Let me see if I can just find it in my notes. Sorry, I forgot to put it on the slide, but it was in Quebec. Yes. So, um, 11 Quebec deputies from the left-wing party Quebec Solidarity refused to pledge allegiance to King Charles III if they swore allegiance to the people of Quebec as provided by the Constitution. They did not want to take the oath that made them bound to the British monarchy at risk from being unable to sit in assembly. The party has in the past filed a bill to change this provision enshrined in the Canadian institution. So it's like, Betty's gone and everybody's just like, you know what, we've got a chance. Let's take it.
Everybody's like, it's our chance, run. but it's the truth. I mean, they don't serve any they're not helping their own, they're not even trying to help their own people. This is what I can't understand. They can't be that stupid. I know they're in a bubble. I understand that. But they know it was a pandemic. They know people were out of work. They were still making sure that their bills were being paid, even though there was nobody working. The Queen still made them pay them to take care of all the different stuff. And I'm like, that's outrageous. That was outrageous to me. And I think the people of Britain are gonna wake up and they're gonna become more and more angry, especially when their grandparents and parents are God forbid, may die over the winter from being frozen to death from no heat. The winter is gonna be a stark reality for a lot of people. And I'm not wishing anything bad on them. I just want the people to understand that they've got to come together and make this situation change. They're talking about bringing back Boris Johnson for the love of God. You know, he just, he just left 45 days ago in total shame and disdain and outrage and all and gossip and all the things. This is who they consider to bring back. But you know what? When I saw the 3 people that they had to take his place, one of them dropped out because of something. I forgot what he said. Then there was just the white woman left, and this
I think Penny.
in England Indian gentleman. And I said to myself, they are not going to pick that. They are not going to let that Indian man be prime minister. I'm sorry. I don't believe they have it in them to have a person of color represent Britain as a prime minister. I don't think they'll pick him. I would be stunned if they pick him. I don't know if they want to pick another lady, whoever she is. But if I was them, he would be my choice. Like, I don't even know him. He's a banker or something. So I don't know if he would be a best choice either. But why don't they get a free election? I don't understand why the people don't get a free. I don't understand who gets to pick these people. I don't understand that. I don't know why the people out there with the sign screaming, "We want an election."
well, now that you've actually mentioned that, thank you so much for that, Flame. Now you've mentioned that, I will say that. So for those of you wondering, the next general election is on. Okay, let me actually read out the whole paragraph that I screen printed. The last general election took place on the 12th of December 2019, with the current Parliament meeting 5 days later. The maximum term of a UK Parliament is 5 years from the day on which it is first met. This means that it will automatically dissolve on Tuesday, the 17th of December 2024, unless it has been dissolved sooner by King Charles. But we discussed the whole thing about Charles dissolving Parliament earlier in the podcast. Polling day would then be expected to take place 25 days later, meaning the latest possible date for an election is Tuesday, the 24th of January 2025. Lord Jesus. Okay, Federica, have you eaten your Oreo?
Yes, I've eaten my Oreo. Thank you for having me back. I want to point out something. Harry said that he saw the business model and he didn't like it. And with all this talk about Netflix series, if you remember closely, Netflix a few years, well, actually last year, they lost something like 2 million viewers or what have you. And I'm quite sure the royal family has stock in Netflix. All right. So you think about, they bought low, okay, and now 2 million viewers rejoined Netflix so they could see The Crown. So when they're sitting up here talking about, begging Harry to do this and da 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 da, that's all for their advantage. And I think Harry and Meghan, they know that. And I think it's time for the public to just actually come down and to admit to themselves that every trashy thing that happens with the royal family, it's a money maker for the royals because they have in long-term investments or short-term investments in these newspapers and in the media. It's not just, the queen says this, that, and the other. It's what Harry said, this gentleman's agreement that they made some 70 or 80 years ago. So I just want you to realize that this whole every time we start talking about Meghan and Harry and this, that, and the other, I think it's a long-term PR scheme that they thought of. The issue here is that they lost their two best players, actually three best players. They lost Margaret, they lost Diana, and now they lost Harry and Meghan. And when you lose your best players on your team, you have an issue. So the only thing that they can do is to have, their spin masters turn out garbage on people. And that's why I just cluck. I'm so glad you're here and that you're doing your job because I just, the amount of people, even in the United States, here in Germany and in Great Britain, who believe everything that they read about these people is just, like as you know. But I just want you to understand that I personally think that the royal family has investment in newspaper and also in print media, in the internet, and that they're getting rich off of this. And when Harry left, he was just like, hey, Dad, don't do this to me, you know and Charles probably said, we're going to. So it's a business model. It really is. And everybody, the queen is getting kickbacks. Allegedly, she gets a penny for every pound that's spent in the UK. So imagine what she's getting kicked back from YouTube and Instagram and so on and so forth. If that is true, I don't know the tax system in the United Kingdom. I just wanted to say that, and that's why we're still sitting here talking about, putting a sticker on or a warning on the crown when last year we didn't.
Well, I mean, I don't know the
Mhm.
depth of the what they're invested in,
Mhm.
but that's an interesting theory you've put forward.
Yeah,
So thank you, Frederica.
yeah, and if you think about how much money that these people who actually hate Meghan and like the body language
Yeah, the data
specialists and
trends.
ladies
Yeah,
and yeah. Okay, and I don't put it beyond them to do something like that. To sit here and say, okay, it is what it is. And Harry has said that several times. He's just like, just because my father went through it doesn't mean that I have to go through it or my children have to go through it
of
and
course, and
stuff.
that's why he took them out of that horrible situation, and thank goodness that he did. All right. Oh my days. I'm referring to someone who was in the chat, by the way. Oh my days, that's her name. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that you left the chat. I'm so sorry. That's not what I meant when I messaged Lauren. But yes, you can come in the live next week. I'm so sorry. All right then. Wow, what an amazing podcast we've had. Amazing discussion as always. And FYI, the picture that I have on the screen, this literally just came up on the Archwell website. So that's a brand new smiley picture of us. Harry looking at his wife like a snack, and Meghan smiling. So, official Lauren Brown, I'm going to let you have the last word of the day. What do you think is coming up for our faves and your third person perspective, not being from the UK, of what could be coming next for our country?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sorry, when you mentioned the snack thing, it just made me laugh because that's exactly where my brain went to. It was like, he was like, thank God I chose this. Okay, so your question was about my perspective. I unfortunately think that there are going to be some lean times. It actually makes me think of bread and circuses. And unfortunately, right now, they're using Meghan and Harry as the circus, but they have forgotten the bread portion. And either way, that didn't work out for the original users of that political tactic. So, in the end, I think what squatties will do is stay riding for our faves, and support. I think all of us who are not in dire situations, where we can, supporting, donating to charity, giving time, things like that to help, because right now the chaos reminds me of, and this is not a plug, I'm just saying it reminds me of a song I wrote, which you can see on my YouTube channel, called Cold Kingdom, where it literally says, times are hard, but we'll survive it. Winter nights go dark, so cold, but again, we'll survive it. So, I'm wishing everybody more than survival, but thriving. And yeah, we just have to be a community supporting one another, because there are power plays, there are jealousy and pettiness at play as well. But I think, as squatties and as a great voice in this space, I think you're doing something that helps so many people. When you look at people, and not to point you out, but Rahini, with what you're going through, you still show up every day for the squad. That speaks to the impact of being a squatty and being in a positive headspace, where we think about community first as opposed to self. So yeah, stay up, stay as positive as you can. And if you need help, don't be afraid to reach out, to ask, whether it's someone on this platform or I'm not volunteering you, and don't worry, but I just mean squatties in general, and or to your own personal local communities. We get through things together, not as an island. Oh, did not mean for that pun.
Well, that was a perfect way to finish. Thank you so much, Lauren, and thank you so much again to everyone for coming to the podcast today. And yes, Lauren is absolutely right. And how amazing is it that there's almost 800 plus people in the chat, and I think we almost hit 1,000 today. That these two people have come together, and then we've all come together to form this community where we can have these conversations and hash out our thoughts and vent and find community. So thank you everyone, as always. I hope you have a glorious weekend. Will I do a podcast tomorrow? If I do a podcast tomorrow, it will probably be a short one. I don't think I'll have a very long one tomorrow, because I want to chill out. But yeah, that'll be all for me today. And yeah, have a great weekend, everyone, and thank you as always. All right, let's get ready to dance out to the new song. Ciao.
There's no use in looking back. Gotta laugh or gotta live, 'cause I'm so over the past, and I'm living it fast. Underneath the strobe lights, ready for a crazy night. I can hear your heartbeat banging loud like a drum. Let me be your only one. Do you feel what I feel? I'm addicted to that sound. Turn it loud, just make it play. When the love is all around, dream away with the music. Flying higher than the stars, we'll be dancing till the dawn. The night is young, so are we. So close your eyes and set it free. Underneath the strobe lights, ready for a crazy night. I can hear your heartbeat banging loud like a drum. Let me be your only one. Do you feel what I feel?
All right, today we're going to talk about how we can find out and how much we can find out and what it takes to get there. So first we have to decide how much do we want to find out. So let's say in this case, I want to find out at a level of 7. Okay, so I find that level on my graph and I come horizontally to my gradient line. Where it intersects with my gradient line, I'm going to come straight down to where it intersects with my fuck around line. That there is going to tell me how much I have to fuck around to find out what I need to find out. See, as you can see, the more you fuck around, the more you're going to find out. And also, if you stay down here and you never fuck around, you'll never find out. So I hope this lesson is helpful. Thank you.